London, December 1952. The city, known for its iconic landmarks and vibrant streets, was about to face an unprecedented crisis. A bustling metropolis, the heart of a vast empire. London was a city that never slept, its streets always alive with the hum of activity. Unbeknownst to its citizens, a silent threat gathered on the horizon. The weather forecast had predicted fog, but no one could have anticipated the severity of what was to come. A dense fog, thick with coal smoke, began to blanket the city, plunging it into an eerie darkness. The fog was so thick that it obscured the sun, casting a pall over the city. This was no ordinary fog, it was the Great Smog of London, a deadly haze that would leave an indelible mark on the city and its people. The smog was a toxic mix of smoke and fog, created by the burning of coal in homes and factories. The smog, a noxious blend of industrial pollutants and natural fog, quickly enveloped London. The city's industrial chimneys belched out smoke, adding to the already thick fog. Visibility plummeted to a few feet, bringing daily life to a standstill. People struggled to see their way through the thick haze, and many were forced to stay indoors. Transportation ground to a halt, with buses and cars unable to navigate the opaque haze. The city's transportation system was paralyzed, and many people were stranded. The River Thames, usually a bustling artery of commerce, lay eerily silent, choked by the impenetrable smog. Boats were unable to navigate the river, and the docks were deserted. Hospitals quickly filled with patients suffering from respiratory issues. The smog exacerbated existing health conditions, and many people struggled to breathe. Emergency services were stretched to their limits, responding to calls for help from all over the city. Ambulances and firefighters worked tirelessly, but the thick fog made their jobs incredibly difficult. Londoners donned masks and helped each other navigate the treacherous conditions. The community came together, showing resilience in the face of adversity. Government officials scrambled to address the crisis, making public announcements and implementing measures to combat the smog. The Great Smog of London would eventually lead to significant changes in environmental policies. When the smog finally lifted, the city was left to reckon with the aftermath. The Great Smog of London was a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for cleaner air and better regulations. Londoners reflected on the harrowing experience, and the city began to move forward, determined to prevent such a disaster from happening again. The Great Smog of London remains a poignant reminder of the impact of pollution and the importance of environmental stewardship. The Great Smog was a disaster decades in the making. It wasn't just a sudden event, but rather the culmination of years of industrial growth and urban expansion. London, a city known for its fog, had always been somewhat accustomed to murky weather. However, this was different. This was a lethal blend of natural and man-made factors coming together in a perfect storm. Post-war Britain relied heavily on coal for heating and industry. Coal was the lifeblood of the nation, fueling homes, factories, and power stations. The demand for coal was insatiable, and the mines worked around the clock to meet it. In homes across the country, coal fireplaces were the norm, providing warmth during the harsh winters. This widespread use of coal meant that the air was constantly filled with smoke and pollutants. Thousands of chimneys spewed forth black smoke laden with sulfur dioxide and soot into the atmosphere. The industrial areas were particularly notorious, with factories belching out thick plumes of smoke day and night. The air quality was already poor, but it was about to get much worse. The sheer volume of pollutants being released was staggering, and there was little to no regulation to control it. This alone might not have been enough to create such a deadly event, but a period of unusually cold weather exacerbated the situation. The winter of 1952 was particularly harsh, with temperatures plummeting and snow blanketing the city. People burned even more coal to keep warm, adding to the already heavy load of pollutants in the air. The cold weather also meant that the smoke didn't rise and disperse as it normally would. A high-pressure system settled over London, trapping the cold air near the ground. This weather pattern created a lid over the city, preventing the smoke and pollutants from escaping. The high-pressure system acted like a barrier, holding everything in place. The longer it stayed, the worse the situation became. The air grew thicker and more toxic with each passing day. This phenomenon, known as a temperature inversion, acted like a lid on a boiling pot. Normally, the air near the ground would rise and disperse, taking the pollutants with it. But the temperature inversion trapped the cold air and the pollutants close to the ground. It was a perfect storm of conditions that led to a deadly outcome. The city was effectively sealed off, with no way for the toxic air to escape. The cold, stagnant air held the smoke and pollutants close to the ground, creating a thick, toxic soup that the city's inhabitants were forced to breathe. People walked through the streets, barely able to see a few feet in front of them. The smog was so dense that it seeped into homes and buildings, offering no respite. The health effects were immediate and severe, with thousands falling ill, and many losing their lives. The Great Smog of 1952 was a tragic reminder of the consequences of unchecked industrial pollution and the need for better environmental regulations. The effects of the smog were immediate and terrifying. The dense fog made it impossible to see, leading to widespread chaos and confusion. People became lost in familiar streets, unable to find their way home. Accidents soared as vehicles collided in the gloom, their drivers blinded by the thick haze. The air itself became a suffocating menace. The acrid smoke stung the eyes and throat, making it difficult to breathe. People coughed uncontrollably, their lungs struggling to cope with the polluted air. The elderly and those with respiratory problems were particularly vulnerable, collapsing in the streets, gasping for air. As the days turned into nights, the situation in London grew increasingly dire. Hospitals overflowed with patients suffering from respiratory distress. Doctors, overwhelmed by the sheer number of casualties, worked tirelessly to save lives. The death toll mounted with each passing hour, a grim testament to the smog's deadly grip. The final death toll from the Great Smog was staggering. While official figures at the time estimated around 4,000 deaths, later studies suggest that the true number may have been significantly higher, potentially reaching 12,000. The smog's legacy of illness and premature death cast a long shadow over the city. Section 5. Beyond the fog. Unveiling the long-term effects. The Great Smog's impact extended far beyond its immediate death toll. The event brought to light the devastating health consequences of air pollution. Studies in the years that followed revealed a sharp increase in respiratory illnesses, heart problems, and even lung cancer among those exposed to the smog. The smog also had a profound psychological effect on Londoners. The fear and uncertainty of those 5 days lingered long after the fog had cleared. The event served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of unchecked pollution. Section 6. A catalyst for change, the Clean Air Act. The Great Smog of 1952 was a watershed moment in environmental history. For 5 days, a thick, deadly fog blanketed the city of London, reducing visibility to mere feet and causing widespread health issues. The smog was so dense that it seeped indoors, affecting homes, offices, and public buildings alike. The public outcry over the disaster forced the government to take action. People from all walks of life demanded change, as the smog had claimed thousands of lives and left many more with long-term respiratory problems. The media played a crucial role in amplifying these voices, with headlines and editorials calling for immediate legislative intervention. In 1956, Parliament passed the Clean Air Act, the first legislation of its kind, to directly address air pollution. This groundbreaking law marked a significant shift in public policy, recognizing the urgent need to protect the environment and public health. It set a precedent for future environmental legislation, not just in the UK, but around the world. The Clean Air Act introduced a range of measures to reduce air pollution, including restrictions on the burning of coal in urban areas. This was a monumental task, as coal was the primary source of heating and energy for many households and industries at the time. The act mandated the use of cleaner fuels and technologies to curb the harmful emissions that had plagued cities for decades, and the establishment of smokeless zones where only smokeless fuels could be used. These zones were a revolutionary concept, aimed at creating pockets of cleaner air within heavily polluted urban areas. The success of these zones demonstrated the effectiveness of targeted environmental policies and paved the way for broader initiatives. The act also provided incentives for industries to switch to cleaner fuels and technologies. This was crucial for ensuring long-term compliance and fostering innovation in environmental practices. Industries were encouraged to adopt new methods that would reduce their environmental footprint, leading to a gradual but significant improvement in air quality. The Clean Air Act of 1956 thus stands as a landmark achievement in the history of environmental protection, illustrating the power of legislation to drive meaningful change. Section 7. London's air today. a legacy of the smog. The Clean Air Act, along with subsequent environmental regulations, has led to a dramatic improvement in London's air quality. The thick, choking smog that once blanketed the city is now a distant memory. However, the legacy of the Great Smog lives on. London still faces air pollution challenges, particularly from traffic emissions. However, the city has made significant strides in reducing pollution levels and improving air quality. The Great Smog serves as a constant reminder of the importance of environmental protection and the need for continued vigilance. Section 8. Lessons from the Smog: A Global Perspective. The Great Smog of London was a tragedy of immense proportions, yet it also served as a wake-up call to the world. The event highlighted the dangers of unchecked industrial pollution and the urgent need for clean air regulations. Today, many cities around the world face similar air pollution challenges. Rapid industrialization and urbanization, coupled with the increasing use of fossil fuels, have led to a global air pollution crisis. The lessons learned from the Great Smog are as relevant today as they were over 7 decades ago. Section 9. The future of our cities, breathing freely. The Great Smog of London stands as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between human progress and environmental sustainability. As we look to the future, it is imperative that we prioritize clean air and environmental protection in our cities. By investing in renewable energy, promoting sustainable transportation, and implementing effective air quality regulations, we can create healthier, more livable cities for ourselves and future generations. The legacy of the Great Smog should serve as a constant reminder that the air we breathe is a precious resource that we must protect.